on. Almost ready to go. Play some motherfucking hockey. Yeah! Alright, hello everyone. Oh, I gotta change that. Make sure it says part 2. Anyway, it's time to play some more NHL Breakaway hockey. How far along, actually? That's a good question. How far along am I in the season mode? I think I played like 7 games.
Tonight's matchup hits the visiting
okay.
Carolina against our hometown Colorado Avalanche.
We'll find out. But yeah, Nets game's up against Carolina. I've lost 1 game so far. I've only had, it was weird, in that 1 game that I lost, it was the only time I've had more than 1 goal scored against me. And also the only time that it was, like, legitimately difficult for me to score anything. Like, I had a hell of a time scoring against San Jose of all teams, I don't know. But yeah, I played a couple games of this. You know, because it's hockey and not basketball, even if it's not great, I'm still sort of into it, just to see what I can do. And it's not like, you know, like I said, it's not like every game's been exactly the same like I was running into with NBA. Jesus. You know, this is actually a good opportunity to talk about one thing that happens all the time in this game. I think overall, the amount of penalties, just the strict number of penalties that gets. Oh, there we go. Nice. That was a great shot. He just beat him straight up. The number of penalties that gets called in a game is maybe it's a little bit high, but it doesn't ever seem like that out of the ordinary. If 5 or 6 penalties get called in a game, you know, even if it's all on one side, which does happen a lot, I definitely get more penalties. I get a lot more power plays than I get times I go on the penalty kill. So that's one thing, and I like that's legitimately because I don't. What the fuck? That never happens. It's just 2 goals in a row that just like straight up, oh, 1-on-1 just got beat. That's all. I don't send my guys into a lot of, like, you know, really weird scrummy situations, like down by the goal mouth or anything like that. So I think that maybe a little bit helps me avoid getting penalties called. That, and I guess I'm lucky that my AI doesn't get called that often. But I will say this: when penalties do get called, like this right here, it's kind of amazing. Like, all the time they just get bunched up. Like, maybe this game does look like it's gonna have a lot of penalties in it, because we're at what, 4? I think that's the 4th penalty in the first period, about halfway through the first. So yeah, it's a lot, definitely a lot at this point. But you'll notice that I've been on 2-man advantages so far, which is nuts. I think in every single game I've had at least 1 point where there's been a 5-on-3 situation. It's so weird. Because you can go whole periods easily without getting any penalties called. It happens. It's just really, really weird that they always get so bunched up on each other that there's constantly 5-on-3s happening. And 4-on-3s, you know, that happens too. But mostly, there's a lot of times that there's 5-on-3s. Fuck. So yeah, luckily I have adjusted to the, you know, it wasn't that hard to adjust to because I've been using it a bunch in the Gretzky games, but it takes, you know, every time you play a new game and you learn the controls, you have to adjust to the fact that there's the little nuances, the little things that they do differently from what you expect or what you want them to do. And the switching players with R, I've kind of gotten there. The only other thing that really bugs me about it, and this is pretty normal in games nowadays, is for like the players the button to have them like sprint or speed up is on the same button, which for me I put it at C down. I don't know if that's standard. I don't remember if that was the default setting. But of course I spam the shit out of that. I use it all the time. But it's also like for a check, like a body check. Actually, that brings up another big important thing to say about this. But I'll get there. I'll find myself like just mashing the C down for a check, like I'm actually kind of going to right now, because I don't want to speed up. I just want somebody to hit somebody or do something. Part of that is because there's not any alternate ways to make a defensive maneuver. No poke checks or anything like that. There's not a whole lot of extra moves that you can make, which is kind of frustrating. I think it definitely comes up a lot more in NHL 99 from what I remember. Ooh.
Penalty to the
okay.
Number 55. Primeau, 2 minutes for high stick.
Yeah, there's a lot of penalties going on in this game. This is a lot more than usual. Like poke checking is a pretty standard command in just about any hockey game. Oh, that's right. We're in 4-on-4 now. That's not really a thing here. It's really all just body checking. Shot blocking, like laying yourself out to block a shot, there's not really a move for that. A lot of things that, I mean, we're a little bit spoiled with how many things we can do in a game now, but I think even at the time there were a lot of games that allowed for little moves here and there. The only thing you really get out of this game is this guy right here, which I've just recently. Fuck you. That move right there, the sort of like skating backwards thing, and it doesn't do a whole lot. Even defensively, it doesn't do a whole lot because it's really tough to move guys into the right position to make a check. But right here, actually, that was a good example. I was waiting to point something else like that. This game is very technically. Oh my God! Are you kidding me? This is nuts. This game, its biggest issues are very. I don't want to say minor because they're not minor, but these really weird like technical imperfections that it really has a lot. I brought up right away how everything seemed to be moving just way too fast. By only moving up the setting by 1 into the faster gameplay. This is normal gameplay. But fuck. But what seems to happen with this game doesn't seem to have any real consistency in how it enforces its speed setting. And you saw when I had that coast to coast with most players. It doesn't happen with every player because not every player is that fast. But most guys, if you start taking the puck up the ice, like I'll try and do it with Adam Foote right now, but I actually don't know if he's fast enough to do it. But yeah, oh here he comes. That was actually, it still wasn't that fast. I've seen it rapidly. Just by the time you get to the other end of the ice. Stefan Yell is the guy I did it with before. I'm just gonna do it to. Oh, fuck, I guess not. I think the hitboxes can be weird a lot of times too. All right, Forsberg will be a good example of this. And fuck, I didn't have him from all the way up the other end of the ice. But luckily, we all saw it before with Stefan Yell, right? If you do sort of like a coast-to-coast skating, whether you're holding the... now everyone I go to is either not in position to do it. I know, a lot of times when you come up the ice with one guy, the sense of momentum is a little bit overwhelming, to the point that by the time they enter the offensive zone, you don't really know what to do with them, because they're moving too fast, and you try to take an angle to the net, or you try to find your teammate for a pass, and they're not there because they're not skating that fast. Or you just try to get a shot off, and by the time he gets the shot off, he's like skated right by the net. Get it in, Jesus. How hard was that? It basically, like, when guys do this, they start looking like a fucking Benny Hill cartoon, basically. He's doing it right now. He's zipping, he's kind of zigzagging back and forth real fast, that's all. I didn't do that. I think I did that. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a technical thing, and like I said, I think the hitboxes could be better too. People kind of get caught on each other. Not as bad as they did in like NBA in the zone. That was brutal. Everything in that game is just way too blocky to work out right, but. I think it almost feels like when guys are moving that fast, they become like slippery or like greasy. Like there's basically, you can't slow them down unless you're directly in front of them, because they're just, oh fuck. I know, they're just gonna like slip and slide right around anybody that gets in their way. But it's also a negative, because it happens like when you're trying to, you know, trying to shoot. Fuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from throwing foreign materials onto the ice.
It's unusual to think that, like, man, I'd really like this game to not move so fast, but it becomes unwieldy. There we go. That's what I was waiting for. All right, tied up now. Good shot. Excellent setup off the faceoff too. Really... Oh my god, shot the fucking thing. There's a weird little move that you can do. Unusually, of all the things that you can't do, like poke checks and stuff like that, you can fake your shot, but it's very counterintuitive as to how to do it. If you're playing like an NHL game, an EA NHL game for around this time, you can go for like a slap shot, and kind of, if I remember correctly, the exact way to do it is you would just hold it down for a bit to wind up, and then kind of release and not press it again, and he'd you know. Or you'd hold it down to wind up, but then you'd press pass or something in between. Well, you can do that in here, but you have to do it by pressing B, but then pressing B again before they shoot it, which is really counterintuitive, because sometimes animation has to take place and things have to get in position before the button command can be pulled off. And you end up going and mashing the button. Like, I think I pressed it at least 2 or 3 times right there, just in that one timer, because I wanted to make sure that you get that in your head. You want to make sure that it happens and it registers, so you do it 5 times. Well, with this game, sometimes what happens is by the time you've pressed it 5 times, it thinks, oh, he's trying to fake a shot, so they'll do it and they'll just fucking whiff, and you realize that they did that on purpose, because you kind of told them to. But it's very counterintuitive, because people like me, they get too excited, and they'll inadvertently start whiffing the shots because the game thinks they're trying to make a fake shot. But it's like, what's the point of really doing a fake shot if I can't do a really good job of, like, passing it or something like that? There's not as much use for a fake shot where I'm still holding on to the puck. And it's not like, I don't think faking somebody out is really as much of a possibility in 1998 or 1997 rather. For those of you who don't know, this game actually released on PlayStation at the proper time for a hockey game, which was before around September. And of course, it flopped completely because it had competition on the PS1. It had, obviously, the EA games, which were... There we go! Wow, that was a 10-second overtime. Jesus Christ. Well, good game, everyone. Glad we all went back to the locker room for that one. Shit. Damn. I had trouble scoring all fucking day. So when this game came out on the PS1, it had to compete obviously with EA, which would have been putting out NHL '98, probably one of their best years, if you ask most people, on the PS1. And Sony also had NHL Face Off, which wasn't you know it wasn't overtaking EA anytime soon, but it was also, you know, holding its own. You know, it was selling. So Acclaim comes along, and what do they have? Quarterback Club, which they've been doing for like 3-4 years, and never. Yeah, there we go. That's a great play. Never really takes off the way that they'd like to. So what do? They try to introduce a hockey game too. Yeah, not gonna happen. Especially when you consider thing that I always have to remember when I talk about hockey games is, like, around where I live, everyone loves hockey games. Everyone buys NHL all the time. You know, hockey games are the most popular. But outside of New England, we're a big hockey area, and Minnesota, like around there, and obviously, like, you know, actual Canada. There are very few big hockey communities in the same way as there's other things. So it's kind of crazy to think of, like, companies bringing out a hockey franchise to compete with an already kind of high number of hockey franchises which don't have appeal. That's, I think, you know, I'll get back to my thought, but that's actually the first icing that I've had at all. And I have icing on. I've had icing on. Anyway, it's interesting when I think of how many hockey games come out, and kind of compete with, you know, the other sports and with the other hockey franchises, when hockey is, I think, always been this way, like the number 4 or 5 sport in the United States. You know, we have football, baseball, obviously. Basketball is definitely above it as far as, like, cultural mainstream acceptance. Just look at the money that people get to play hockey versus to play basketball. The only thing it's got a bigger following than is soccer, which we're obviously going to get a lot of soccer games because they're going to make them for everybody else. So I always just think it's weird when there's a high amount of hockey games, and I think that, like, people usually agree that hockey games are the most fun, or that a lot of hockey games, like EA's NHL games right now, have been the best sports game pretty much every year for like 10 years now. So I always think that's funny, like, for the least popular sport by comparison, most people seem to think that they're the best games, regardless of how much they actually like it. It's like it'll never even come close to outselling Madden every year. But, like, goddamn, they're putting out a better game than Madden every single year. And realistically, like, everyone should be trying to, and sometimes does try to take down Madden first. I forget where I was going with this, but at this time in video games, everybody was making every sport every year. So Acclaim just kind of throwing their hat in the ring was maybe expected, but to nobody's surprise when it totally fucking flopped. Maybe at that point then, a little bit surprising that they would even bother to re-release it for the N64, even with no competition, mid-season after the All-Star break in like the February of '98. Did you notice that all sports games come out with the next year in their title? There we go. Nice shot, Deadmarsh. Damn. But this came out in February of '98, and it was year '98. You'll have to check. I don't actually know when Breakaway '99 came out, because for all I know, they said, well, fuck it, we're gonna put games out on the N64 now. Which is what Acclaim usually did, because they always did All-Star Baseball in '64. And Quarterback Club became N64 and Dreamcast. N64 exclusive first, and then N64 and Dreamcast when the Dreamcast came out. And then GameCube, they put Quarterback Club 2002 on the GameCube. Was it on anything else? Because I've only ever seen it for GameCube as far as I can remember. But yeah, it is actually kind of weird to me how much Acclaim really took to the N64. Because when I was looking at, when you're looking at the games that you're about to play, and then you go, oh, well, there's 4 Quarterback Clubs. Well, Quarterback Club was around technically in 1996 because they put out a '97 game, but there was no way that was going to come to the N64. Then just starting the very next year after that, it was like, Acclaim was just all about the N64. Pretty much this would have been one of their last really strong efforts to compete on the PS1 for good reason. Playing the Bruins right now, it's like all the names from when I was like, 6, 7 years old are coming back to me. This was obviously, I would have only been 4, not even at the time. But a lot of these names hung around to the mid 2000s, so I know them. Seeing Sergei Samsonov. Sergei was always great. Obviously Ray Bourque. The reason I actually like the Colorado Avalanche, if you haven't seen me talk about it before, is actually more about Ray Bourque, and therefore Joe Sakic. Avalanche are absolutely not my #1 team, but when it comes to these older games, they're just, it was a really good time for the Avalanche and a really bad time for the Bruins. So even if I know I don't even think Joe Thornton's in this game. He probably was, I think he would have been drafted this offseason following this game. Pick it up. Pick up the goddamn puck. But yeah, I really don't want to be the Bruins at this point in time. But like I said, there's a couple people here that would hang on for a while. I know Kyle McLaren is in this game. I'll bet current GM Don Sweeney, I'll see his name. All right. Nice looking scoreboard there, 2-0. Not too bad, not too bad. I'll have to check where I'm at in the season. I haven't simulated any games yet, which I'm actually pretty proud of. More realistically with this, because it's keeping my interest, I'll be more like once I start simulating games, it's a bad sign because it means that I've started to really lose interest. But I haven't really done that yet. I want to win all these games on my own. Of course, I've lost one. There's Sergei. There's Ray. Oh, fuck you! That was a bullshit goal right there. Fucking charging the net. Whatever. Realistically, that probably would have turned out to be a pretty good goal. On the oh, it's Jason Allison on the other end of the faceoff. That in a more modern game that would have looked like a good goal on a good rebound, but with these graphics and not to mention this, there you go. Adam Deadmarsh got 2 goals on the game. With these graphics and the sense of momentum that they have, it looks like he just basically like meshed into him, and the puck continued to move. It didn't look right at all. Looked like the exact kind of thing that you go, yeah, that's no good. You can't do that. That's Ted Donato. I know some of these names. There's Kyle McLaren. Got laid out right there. Fuck you. Just laying people out in the... Oh, there's Joe Thornton right there. Huh. Maybe that was his rookie year. Almost, there we go. Wow, 2 goals for Ozolinch, the D-man today. And 2 for Deadmarsh, wow. See if we can get either of these guys a hattie. Not that they'd get any hats in an away game, but... Kaminsky, Ozolinch. Yeah, they all changed out. Realistically, that'll probably take us to the end of the game. Also, notice that there were very, very few penalties in this game. So that's, like I was saying, it's not like every game. It's not terribly common for there to be that many penalties. It's just very common that the penalties will stack up on one another to get way more 5-on-3s than you'd ever expect to see. Jesus. Oh, okay. Spoke too soon. That infamous 2-minute spearing call that I pointed out last time. They only take 2-minute spearing calls. Even at this time, I would have been led to believe that if you spear somebody, you're fucking out of here. You don't fucking stab a dude with your stick. What the fuck is wrong with you? Hey, Eric Curry. Top shelf right there for the shorty. Damn, dude. That was a great shot. Everyone saw that top shelf corner right there. Excellent shot. $14 for 50 on face-offs. Damn. I was gonna say I got the hang of this, but it's not always like that. I actually do have some where I split. Oh, he almost had his third.
Penalty to the Colorado
Yep.
Avalanche.
Next 3 seconds.
2 minutes for slashing. 4 minutes.
And see? Stacks on top of each other.
Of the third period.
Haven't had any penalties all game, pretty much. Brrr. 5-1. A 1-5. Alright, it's a good couple of games. Not bad. Alright, so that's some NHL Breakaway for you. It's nothing special. It's not all that great. You know, it's certainly passable game. But you should either be playing Wayne Gretzky or NHL 99 if they're available to you. That's just they're just much better because of the way that they do things their own way. NHL 99 is this game, but just better. So I'm gonna stick with this, of course. I'm gonna keep playing this season. I might end up simming a couple towards the end, but so far I haven't done any of that, which is cool. I just keep hammering them out. Next game, actually, this will end February of '98, and the next game is actually Yoshi's Story, which would be interesting because a lot of ways to play Yoshi's Story, and I don't know if I've ever played it the correct way. But that's it. Signing off for now. Thanks for watching.